Chosen one? What if I told you that the sexual desire that tries to dominate you isn't random, that it's not just biology, not just impulse, but a coded attack, a spiritual war targeting your divine essence? You were never meant to fit in, because you were chosen to wake up, rise, and lead. And the forces that rule this world, they've always known that. That's why they're after your purity, your energy, your fire. Since the moment you were born, something about you was different. You questioned the world even when you were young. You felt energies others couldn't explain. You saw through the masks, the lies, the illusions. While others were distracted by the noise, you were searching for truth. And the truth, it's dangerous in a world built on deception. That's why the attacks on you were never just physical. They were spiritual, emotional, energetic. That sexual craving you wrestle with, it's not just lust. It's a weapon, a frequency, designed to pull you away from your path, to weaken your spiritual armor, to drain your divine power before you can even rise. They package it in movies, music, apps. They flood your screen with temptation because they know when a chosen one is celibate and aligned, they're unshakable. They know that if you mastered your energy, you'd become unstoppable, and that terrifies them. You feel the battle inside you, don't you? That inner war between desire and discipline, between light and shadow, between the part of you that craves escape and the part of you that remembers why you came. That's your awakening. It's not a fantasy, it's a calling, a remembering, a return to the truth you already knew. You are not your urges, you are the master of them. You see, chosen one, they couldn't destroy you, so they tried to distract you. They couldn't silence your voice, so they tried to seduce your soul. But you've already started to see through it, haven't you? You're noticing how your energy shifts after certain thoughts, how your vibration lowers after certain habits. You're becoming aware, and once you're aware, the enemy loses power. There's a reason you feel called to something higher. Why random pleasures don't satisfy you anymore. Why the world feels loud, fake, shallow. Because your soul is outgrowing the illusion. You're meant to rise above it, to break the chains of addiction and become the version of you that's been hidden. And yes, it's hard, because breaking spells always is, but you weren't sent here to be average. You were sent here to awaken. Let's be real. Spiritual warfare doesn't always look like demons and darkness. Sometimes it looks like a quiet scroll through your phone. Sometimes it looks like that harmless thought, that quick escape, that sudden craving. But don't be fooled. Every moment you choose self-control, you win. Every time you say no to temptation, you regain your power. Sexual energy is life force, and when you transmute it, when you turn it into creation, purpose, and vision, you become dangerous to the system that wants you weak. They don't fear your body, they fear your consciousness. They fear the moment you remember who you are and decide to live from that truth. You are not here to be consumed. You are here to transform. There's a reason the greatest masters in history practiced discipline. Why ancient mystics warned about desire? Because they knew it was sacred. They knew the power that lives within you, and they knew only a chosen one would ever be strong enough to tame it. You have that strength, you always did. It's time to use it. You may fall sometimes, you may stumble, but don't ever think you've failed. Every test is refining you. Every struggle is shaping you. You're not broken, you're being built, stronger, wiser, sharper. So the next time that desire hits you like a wave, breathe, feel it, then rise above it. Because every time you do, you reclaim your soul. Your awakening isn't pretty. It's not neat or peaceful. It's chaotic, raw, sacred. But that's how all true transformations begin. And if you're feeling the pull, the friction, the fire, it means you're right on time. You are not crazy. You are not alone. You are chosen. And if this message is speaking directly to your soul right now, then this is your sign. You're not here to be a slave to your urges. You're here to master your energy and step into divine alignment. Let the world chase pleasure. You're chasing purpose. That's why you're watching the chosen era. Chosen one, you have a sacred mission. And the moment you start taking control of your energy, you shift timelines, you awaken gifts, you rise into your true self. No more hiding, no more running. Your power is waiting behind your discipline. Now is your time. If this message lit a fire inside you, if you feel like you just woke up from a dream, comment and subscribe to the Chosen Era, because this journey is just beginning. And trust me, you were never meant to walk it alone. Chosen One. You may have noticed that the stronger your spiritual awareness grows, the more intense the temptations become. It's not by accident. The moment you begin to see through the matrix, the system responds. It sends more distractions, more cravings, more illusions, anything to pull you back asleep. Why? Because you're a threat, not just to the world, but to the forces that rule it from the shadows. You weren't made for comfort. You were made for clarity. You were made to carry light into dark places, and that light, it begins with your energy, your life force, your sexual essence. It's the seed of creation, the core of manifestation. If they can control that, they control you. Look around. Everything is hypersexualized. Ads, songs, influencers, even spiritual content sometimes. They want you overstimulated, undernourished, always chasing, never creating. But the moment you redirect that energy inward, you begin to rebuild your kingdom from within. The cravings become fuel, the fire becomes power. You may have felt guilty for desiring, for falling into the same loops. But hear this now, desire isn't evil. It's divine energy misdirected. You are not weak for feeling it. You are powerful because you're learning to master it. Each moment you say, not today, you're shifting dimensions. You're saying yes to your higher self. The people around you may not understand. They may laugh at your discipline, mock your celibacy, call you extreme, too deep, too different. But deep down, they sense something in you, something ancient, something royal. And that scares them because it awakens something in them too. You've likely gone through seasons of loneliness, times when the world felt far away, when your soul ached for deeper connection, but nothing and no one matched your vibration. That's the path of the chosen. Isolation is not punishment, it's preparation. In solitude, you find strength. In silence, you hear the voice of God. The sexual desire you feel so intensely. It's not here to destroy you, it's here to teach you, to show you the power you carry, to give you a mirror so you can look at your inner chaos and choose peace, so you can feel your flesh scream and still choose spirit. Do you feel the shift happening in you now? That moment where temptation becomes a teacher, where your darkest craving becomes the doorway to your greatest awakening. That's alchemy. That's what the enemy never wanted you to discover, that you have the power to transmute pain into power, lust into light, desire into destiny. And when you begin to master your energy, the world shifts with you. Your eyes open wider, your thoughts become sharper, your spirit starts attracting divine connections, real love, sacred guidance, not the counterfeit, not the illusion, but what was always meant for you, because now you're ready to receive it. Let me know when to continue, or if you want me to build even deeper from here. Chosen One, remember this truth. The enemy never wastes time on the ordinary. So if your life has been a battlefield of lust, confusion, and temptation, it's only because of what you carry. Your energy is rare, your soul is ancient, and your potential limitless, but only if you stop leaking it. Every time you give your sacred energy to a screen, a fantasy, a fleeting moment, you give away a piece of your destiny. You feed a system designed to keep you asleep, and in return, you feel drained, empty, disconnected. That's not by mistake. It's engineered. They don't need to chain your body if they can enslave your soul. But here's the sacred secret they never taught you. Your sexual energy is the same force that creates galaxies. When you withhold it with intention, it doesn't vanish. It transforms, it rises up your spine, it opens your third eye, it activates your voice, your gifts, your vision. You stop craving and start creating. That's why the greatest prophets, sages, and chosen vessels were always tested by desire, because to carry divine light, you must first prove you can hold divine fire, and that fire will burn. It will consume every false version of you. It will force you to choose between momentary pleasure and eternal power. But once you pass through it, you're no longer controlled by the flesh. You walk in spirit. You become untouchable. This is why you've been feeling the intensity lately, why old patterns are resurfacing, why desires are flaring up, louder than ever. It's because your soul is leveling up, and right before the shift comes the storm, not to destroy you, but to test your foundation, to see if you're ready for the next dimension of purpose. You were never meant to fight this war with willpower alone. You need alignment. Discipline is spiritual, fasting is spiritual, breathing, praying, speaking truth over yourself, all spiritual warfare. You're not just resisting lust, you're rising into your role. Every day you choose sacredness over sin, you reclaim a piece of your kingdom, and you'll notice something strange begin to happen. As you regain your power, people will start looking at you differently. Some will be drawn to your presence without knowing why. Others will be repelled, even offended by your light. Don't shrink. Don't explain. Your energy is exposing what they've buried. And the chosen were never sent to make people comfortable. You were sent to shake the system awake. Chosen one, you've likely noticed how pleasure is always offered as a cure. For boredom, for loneliness, for pain, for the deep ache inside your soul that no one talks about. But what if I told you that ache is not meant to be numbed? What if it's actually the voice of your spirit calling you back home? You were never meant to drown your divinity in distraction. That restless hunger in your chest, it's not lust. It's the longing to remember who you are. It's your soul knocking on the walls of your flesh, begging you to stop giving your power to temporary things. You've tasted what the world offers, and it left you empty. Because your spirit was never meant to be fed with imitation light. You might be asking, yeah, why me? Why do I feel this way when no one else around me seems to care? Why am I so sensitive to energy, to sin, to silence? Because you are coded differently. You were born with a mission sealed in your soul. And that mission is incompatible with mediocrity. It requires pruning, purity, pain. No one told you that awakening would feel like breaking, that becoming whole would first mean falling apart. But that's how your soul purges the programming. That's how you shed the chains you didn't even know you were wearing. And right at the center of that purge is your desire, the raw, primal part of you that this world has tried to hijack since you were young. The reason lust is one of the most powerful traps is because it mimics connection without offering covenant. It gives you the illusion of love without the depth of spirit. It opens the body but closes the soul. And for a chosen one, that trade is far too expensive because every time you surrender to lower urges, you delay the arrival of your higher self. But this isn't about shame. This is about awakening. This is about realizing that your urges are not evil. They're untrained energy, wildfire meant to be guided, not extinguished. That very fire, when channeled, can birth healing, article wisdom, legacy. You feel things deeply because you're meant to create deeply. You crave intensity because you carry intensity. But the world taught you to waste that depth on temporary pleasure. It's time to reclaim it. Time to rise from the ruins of false satisfaction and step into the fire of transformation. That fire won't burn you, it will forge you. Chosen one. There's a hidden truth the world doesn't want you to uncover. That your struggle with lust is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign that your energy is sacred, that something powerful sleeps within you, and the enemy wants it locked in chains. The more intense the battle, the greater the purpose. The louder the temptation, the more urgent your mission. You were never meant to numb your pain with pleasure, because your pain holds messages, instructions, sacred keys to your evolution. But when you bury it beneath distraction, you delay your breakthrough. You silence the voice of your higher self, the part of you that already remembers why you came. Every time you resist temptation, you're not just saying no, you're saying yes to something greater, yes to divine clarity, yes to spiritual authority, yes to alignment with a version of you that the enemy hoped would never awaken. And make no mistake, when that version rises, entire bloodlines shift, curses break, cycles end. Think back to the moments where you gave in to desire, how it left you feeling afterwards, drained, empty, distant from your essence. That was never by chance. It's because lust feeds on your light. It offers you a moment of pleasure, in exchange for days of inner silence, a moment of escape, in exchange for your connection to source. You weren't created to chase, you were created to call in, to attract, to manifest, but manifestation requires spiritual clarity, and lust clouds the vision, it muddies the water, it interrupts the divine signal. So when you fall, don't just feel guilt, feel the disconnect, then return, quickly, intentionally. The truth is, you can't lose your anointing, but you can delay your awakening, and every delay has a cost, not just for you, but for the people assigned to your light. There are souls waiting for the version of you that's fully aligned. They need your voice, your healing, your testimony, and that version of you can only emerge when you guard your energy like it's holy, because it is. So no, your struggle isn't random, it's personal, targeted, calculated, but you're not powerless. In fact, the moment you recognize this battle for what it really is, spiritual warfare, you begin to win. Because spiritual battles are never won with flesh, they're won with wisdom, with awareness, with daily choices that seem small but shift everything. Chosen one, the system hopes you'll never slow down long enough to see the way your attention is constantly hijacked, to see how desire is used as a leash, subtle, seductive, and silent. They don't need to chain your hands if they can enslave your eyes. They don't need to cage your body if they can conquer your mind. But now you're waking up. You're starting to see the pattern. You're starting to recognize the bait, and you're choosing to rise above it. And that, chosen one, is the real rebellion, to remain pure in a world that profits off your impurity, to protect your energy in a world addicted to wasting it. You may have wondered why your dreams have felt more intense lately, why your nights are filled with strange energy, old desires rising like ghosts. It's because when your spirit starts ascending, the shadows don't go quietly. They whisper through temptation, they knock through cravings, they try to pull you back through your weakest portal. But this is no longer a fight of flesh, this is a battle of frequency. Your energy is evolving, rising beyond the reach of what used to bind you. That's why the test feels heavier, because the enemy knows your next level comes with influence, power, and protection. You are walking into a realm where your very presence shifts atmospheres, and that power terrifies darkness. You must understand, not every urge is yours. Some desires are planted. Spirits can whisper through screens, through music, through emotions, not processed. You're not broken for feeling tempted, but you are responsible for guarding your gates, what you watch, what you listen to, what you give your eyes, your ears, your mind. Every portal must be protected, because each one is an entryway to your spirit. And the chosen don't just protect their body, they protect their vibration, their light, their alignment with the divine, because they understand when you're in alignment, the enemy can't touch you, it can only distract you. So when you feel the war within, don't run, observe, breathe, pray, transmute, because you're not fighting to suppress your desires. You're learning to master them, to aim them like arrows toward purpose, to turn lust into leadership, passion into prophecy, craving into calling. Chosen one, let's go deeper, because this truth is not for the masses, it's for the few who are ready. The few who feel the pull of something greater even in the middle of their weakness. Yes, even in your weakness, your calling still stands. Even when you stumble, the heavens don't turn away, because your soul is marked, and the war over your desire is evidence of your divine worth. You may have asked yourself, why does it feel like I'm at war with myself? Because your old self and your higher self are colliding. The part of you conditioned to crave escape is battling the part of you rising in power. You're in the fire of refinement, not to destroy you, but to distill you, to burn off the false identities, the illusions, the lies you inherited. and what remains will be unshakable. Let's talk about that burning inside you and that pull towards something you can't always explain. It shows up as frustration, as restlessness, as a silent knowing that there's more to your existence than working, scrolling, numbing, repeating. That's not just discomfort, it's divine agitation. Your soul is being activated. You weren't born to blend in. You weren't designed to follow scripts handed down by a broken system. You came to break cycles, to wake up ancient codes sleeping in your DNA, and every time you choose spirit over flesh, you unlock another layer of who you truly are. But be aware, your awakening will trigger resistance in others. Some will project, some will disappear, some will try to pull you back into who you used to be. Let them. You don't owe your past a single ounce of your future. Your loyalty belongs to your evolution, not your old identity. You're not crazy for feeling this shift. You're not overthinking. You're not doing too much. You're remembering. And that remembering is painful because it calls you out of comfort. It demands the death of your distractions. And it asks you to rise into a version of yourself that you've never seen before, but heaven already recognizes. So yes, the temptation is real, but so is your anointing. And if you only knew what was on the other side of your discipline, you'd never look back again. Chosen one, there is a sacred reason why your journey has been harder than others, why the cravings hit you deeper, why the isolation lasts longer, why the pressure never seems to ease. It's because you're not being trained for a normal life. You're being refined for a divine mission. And that mission requires a version of you that this world has never seen. Every battle you've faced with lust, with self-sabotage, with temptation, it's all been preparation. The spiritual realm recognizes your potential before you do. And so does the opposition. That's why they target you early, through shame, through heartbreak, through over-sexualized conditioning that tries to shape your identity before you even understand your purpose. But here's what they couldn't touch: your essence, that divine spark within you that refuses to die. Even after the mistakes, even after the relapses, even after the guilt and the silence and the hiding, it still burns, still calls, still waits for you to rise. You're not here to escape your desires. You're here to elevate them, to take what once controlled you and use it as fuel. Lust wants to own you, but spirit wants to anoint you. The fire within you is not sinful, it's sacred. It just needs direction. And that direction only comes when you step fully into your role as a vessel of light. You're not the only one battling this, but you are one of the few brave enough to face it head on, to look your shadow in the eye and say, I will not be ruled by you. That is spiritual warfare. That is mastery. That is you reclaiming your throne. The world wants you reactive, always chasing the next thrill. But you were designed to command your energy, not leak it. To move with intention. To create from purity. To love from overflow, not from lack. And when you operate from that frequency, everything around you shifts. People feel your presence before you speak. Rooms respond to your silence. You don't just attract attention, you carry authority. Because you're no longer bound by impulse, you're guided by purpose, and that kind of power can't be bought. It must be earned through every trial, every temptation, every time you say no to what drains you. Chosen one, you've always felt different, haven't you? Even as a child, you sensed there was more. More behind the veil of this world. More behind the eyes of people who seemed to be asleep. And while others chased validation, you craved meaning. That craving wasn't random, it was your calling, whispering. Even before you had language for it, even before the world tried to shame it out of you, they told you to calm down, fit in, be normal. But your spirit never agreed because it remembered, and now, as your awareness grows, so does the attack. Because spiritual warfare intensifies the moment you remember your worth. The enemy doesn't bother those who pose no threat. But you were born to shake dimensions, to shift atmospheres, to awaken others just by standing in your truth. That's why lust was sent after you, not to give you pleasure, but to derail your purpose. Because when a chosen one loses focus, the world loses light. But when you regain that focus, when you take control of your vessel, when you channel your desire instead of being ruled by it. You become dangerous to darkness. You start seeing through the illusion. You realize most of what's glorified, hookups, casual sex, dopamine-driven living, is actually spiritual sedation. It disconnects you from yourself, from source, from your vision. And that's by design. The greatest deception is not in what's evil, it's in what seems harmless, because no one warns you that constant indulgence dulls your intuition, that every spiritual high has a counterfeit. Lust mimics love, addiction mimics intimacy, entertainment mimics enlightenment, and you, chosen one, are called to discern the difference. This is your training ground, not a punishment, but a preparation. You are being equipped with the ability to master your energy, to feel the fire but not be consumed by it, to walk through the temptation and still emerge holy. That's power, that's purity, that's the path of the chosen. Chosen one, there is something sacred about your sensitivity. You feel everything, not just in your mind, but in your body, your spirit, your soul. And that sensitivity, it's not a flaw, it's a gift, a weapon in a world dulled by distraction. But that same gift makes you a target, because when your senses are open, you become a portal for both light and shadow. You absorb, you perceive, you know, often before others do, and if you're not grounded in your truth, desire becomes the fastest way to pull you off course. This is why lust never knocks politely. It barges in when you're tired, when you're lonely, when you're doubting. It doesn't need to overpower you. It just needs you to forget who you are for one moment, because one moment can delay your destiny by years, and the enemy knows that. But now, so do you. You have to understand the desire you feel isn't simply biological. It's spiritual data. It's showing you where your energy wants to go, where your focus is leaking, where your past wounds still need healing. The craving is a compass, but you have to decode it. Because behind every unhealed desire, there's a story, a memory, a trauma, something you wanted to receive but never did, something you lost that never returned. Lust becomes the mask that covers longing, and you, chosen one, are being asked to remove the mask, to look into the root. This is the real inner work, not just resisting the urge, but asking, why is this here? What is it trying to tell me? Because healing doesn't come from suppression. It comes from understanding. And when you begin to understand yourself, you stop giving your power to anything external. You no longer need attention to feel worthy. You no longer seek escape because you've found presence. You no longer bow to the God of momentary pleasure because you've remembered the God within. Chosen one, you are not broken, you are becoming. And every time you rise above the trap, you return to your throne, stronger, clearer, more divine. Chosen one, this is why your journey can't be compared, why you can't look to others and wonder why they don't wrestle like you do, because they weren't called to carry what you carry. They weren't designed to awaken what you're here to awaken. Your temptations are intense because your impact is massive, and the higher your calling, the deeper the warfare. There are forces that profit from your spiritual sleep, entities that gain power every time you ignore your inner voice. So they send distractions that feel like comfort, temptations that look like love, opportunities that come wrapped in compromise, because if they can't destroy you, they'll settle for delaying you. But you're beginning to see through the illusions now. You're learning that not every desire is aligned. You're learning that just because something feels good doesn't mean it's good for your soul. You're not here to chase the temporary. You're here to build the eternal. The pain you've been through, it's sacred. The urges you've fought in silence, they're part of your refinement. And the isolation you've endured, that wasn't punishment. It was protection. Because the Most High needed to separate you to sanctify you. You've walked through fire that would have broken others. But here you are, still standing, still searching, still listening. That's not weakness, chosen one. That's spiritual resilience. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to stay awake. you've likely noticed, the more you step into your power, the more the temptations evolve. What once came through lust now comes disguised as opportunity. What once was obvious now arrives as subtle energy drains, people, habits. But your discernment is sharpening. You're learning to feel the frequency of everything that enters your field. This is spiritual maturity, the ability to sense the unseen, to move with wisdom, to recognize that mastery isn't just in what you do, it's in what you resist. And every moment you choose alignment, you gain ground in the spirit. You're not just guarding your energy for you, you're protecting the legacy inside you, the generations that will rise from your obedience, the souls that will awaken through your example. You're breaking chains that began long before you were born. Chains of addiction, dysfunction, perversion, shame. Chosen one, you are the one they couldn't predict. The one who doesn't just survive, you transform. Every wound becomes wisdom. Every weakness becomes a weapon. Every temptation becomes a testimony. Chosen one, you were never meant to fit in, because your light exposes what others have learned to ignore. You were sent here to disturb the silence of generational bondage, to disrupt the rhythm of spiritual sleep, and that makes you a threat, not just to people, but to principalities. That's why the attacks feel personal, because they are. Not because you're weak, but because you're dangerous to darkness. The enemy doesn't wage war against the lost, it wages war against the awakening. And this war isn't just about your body, it's about your capacity, the gifts you haven't fully stepped into yet, the people you're meant to heal, the message buried in your belly. If they can keep you cycling in temptation, you'll never sit fully in your seat of power. But let me tell you this, every time you resist the urge to lower your frequency, you reclaim a piece of yourself. You retrieve a fragment of your soul that was lost in years of distraction and emotional numbing. And that reclamation, it's holy. It's how you rise. Some of you are feeling the call to cleanse, not just physically, but spiritually. To purge the energies left behind by old soul ties, casual encounters, digital indulgences. And yes, that process hurts. It brings everything to the surface. The loneliness, the guilt, the aching void that lust tried to silence. But what emerges on the other side is clarity. Your spiritual eyesight sharpens. You begin to recognize when something is off, even if it looks good, because you're no longer addicted to appearances. You're led by alignment. This is when your power multiplies, not because you're perfect, but because you're present. And when you're present, you can receive guidance, downloads, divine insight, things the numbed-out version of you could never access. You start to see people for who they are, feel spirits before words are spoken, sense when something is sent to uplift you or distract you. And that, chosen one, is the mark of the awakened. You no longer follow crowds, you follow calling. Chosen one, by now you've realized this battle is ancient. It didn't start with you, but it may very well end with you. You're the one the bloodline's been waiting for, not because you're flawless, but because you're willing to face what others avoided, willing to feel what others numb, willing to walk through temptation with your eyes wide open. That makes you different, that makes you dangerous. When you deny your lower urges, you don't just miss out on pleasure, you reclaim power. Every no you whisper in private echoes in the spirit realm like thunder, because your refusal to bow is a declaration. I remember who I am, and who you are is royalty. Not the kind the world praises, but the kind heaven trusts, the kind that governs not with ego, but with energy, the kind that leads not with control, but with consciousness. But here's what they don't tell you. Mastery is lonely. Elevation requires separation. Sometimes the silence is the only place God can reach you. And in that silence, you'll hear the truth. You were never meant to be common. This path will cost you. It will ask for your comfort. It will strip away every identity you borrowed just to survive. But what you receive in return can't be measured. You'll begin to attract connections that nourish your soul, opportunities that align with your assignment, peace that doesn't rely on circumstances, and clarity that makes your former confusion look like a blessing in disguise. But make no mistake, the temptations won't disappear, they'll evolve, they'll get smarter, subtler, sweeter. The real test will be when something feels good, but your spirit whispers, this isn't for you anymore. And that moment, as that quiet moment of choice, will shape your timeline, because every time you choose alignment over appetite, you're collapsing timelines of suffering, you're unlocking doors for the next generation, you're embodying a frequency that says, I am not ruled by flesh, I am led by purpose. Chosen one, if this message awakened something deep within you, if you felt seen, understood, and spiritually ignited, then you're exactly where you're meant to be. This is your confirmation. You are not alone. You are not crazy. You are chosen, and your journey is sacred. Now is the time to rise, to take your power back, to walk boldly in your purpose. So don't just watch in silence, activate. Like this video if it spoke to your soul. Comment below and declare, I am mastering my desires. I am chosen. And subscribe to The Chosen Era for more spiritual truths that will awaken the warrior within you. Your journey is just beginning. Let's walk this path together.